I've come to the my next trip out. I've come to the parish of Ashton, named in old charters only as Ashton. No cold. I don't know, at some point in its history it's developed the word cold, and it's bloody cold now. It's 3 days after Christmas, 10 o'clock in the morning. What interests me about this is that it's close to home, so I can justify it as exercise close to home, in the same tier as me, just a couple of miles. Secondly, we have the full Anglo-Saxon charter, which means that I can talk about the landscape as the ancient English saw it, with their names for things, if I can find the public footpath, which I've got a feeling is no longer here. Found it. The old charter that sets out this parish says cart this hill up the steep hill to the Yalden ditch, in Old English, which means old ditch, old dike. So even in sort of 700s, 800s AD, this was old. It was recognised as being old by the Anglo-Saxon immigrants that came here, and it is an Iron Age embankment, ditch and embankment, probably an Iron Age fort, overlooking the valley below the Wick. What's the name of the river down there? Is it the Boyd? And it's for the how do I know this? Because I've read a load of old Anglo-Saxon charter and an modern English translation. But how do I really know that? Because Historic England say this is named as Yalden ditch in old charter. So this is. So yeah, this is the first spot. I just thought I'd show you. Then we're off to the next. We're going to walk the bounds. Well, we're not. We're going to go to a couple of places that is significant, and it's something to do on a cold winter's day. This hill, Tog Hill, is called 1200 years ago. It was called Coggan Hill, and how do we know that? Because we know that the place I was last at was definitely Yalden Dyke ditch, and you can trace that parish boundaries don't change all that much. You can trace the description of the boundary up to here to this hill. Somewhere down there is Cassie's Gate, or Cat's Gate, the name of field. I've just showed you. Durham's about 2 miles from here, so it's quite peculiar having it here. Though the battle may have raged around here. But what it tells, not that plaque, but the history tells us that that's probably the nail in the coffin for Romano British culture in Britain, as the Anglo-Saxons just basically finished the job. It took them 200 years to do it. And here, 3 kings, they mention the names on the plaque, near here, were killed. But what's interesting about them, they were kings of Gloucester, Cirencester and Bath, which suggest in 577, which suggests that 167 years after the Roman army left, there was still something called Romana. There were still cities that such things as Bath, Gloucester and Cirencester still had enough meaning and existence to be something to be a king of. And it does suggest that some sort of Romano-British, certainly sophisticated British culture, Romano-British, because they were cities built by the Romans, that something of that was left, even 160 years later. But this was the death knell. But it's something that interests them. One of the main reasons I'm interested in this period is because it's also political. It's about civilization versus barbarism, and a lot of us with our advanced civilization think it's impossible for us to go backwards. When it happened to the Romans, the Romano-British. This is behind me is the southern boundary of the Cold Ashton parish, and still the civil parish today. But in Old English times, in Anglo-Saxon times, it was the start point in the charter, where you start walking from the point across this valley here. So basically it says, take this point and then go to this point. So he goes, in Old English, that is from Hayot Leia Westerweirde. Now, Old English is still English, so Westerweirde is westward, Fram is from, that is that is. Hayot is, might not be familiar, but it's a hart, which is a male deer. Leia is Lee. So it's, and I think this is an example of academic silos. I think you've got a historian and an expert on Old English have got together and translated this, comparing it to a map. I don't think they looked at the map, because on the map they would have seen a place called Hartley. There's a farm called Hartley, and next to it is a wood called Hartley. But why translate Hartley into Hartwood when there's a Hartley on the map? And that's my point. So amateur archaeologists 1, academics 0. I'm going to play Gothic architecture roulette and say that's 14th century.